Ms. O'Neill, if you would come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Bonnie O'Neill, and my address is 2126 Rivershore Road. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. As I said, my name is Bonnie O'Neill, and I'm a voting, interested citizen of this town. I've worked in our community for 25 years as a teacher and an instructional leader serving all the children in our community. I'm here tonight because of the grave concerns I have about recent actions of some of the members of City Council. My first concern is the complete disregard and lack of respect 4 of you showed towards Mrs. Hummer and not allowing her a vote in the decision to terminate Mr. Olson. In today's new Daily Advance, there was an editorial with which I agreed that talked about the low pay and the dedication of our mayor and all of you, and I agree. So I have a question to ask of you. Is there any one of you that can deny that any one of you has had more dedication over time than Ms. Hummer to this city? Is there anybody that can deny that? I also need to ask, is there not any one of you who have consistently been re-elected to serve a more diverse constituency than Mrs. Hummer? I don't think you can tell me that. Yet, in denying her a voice, you not only denied her, you denied her diverse constituency. I don't think that's right. And I don't think her constituency would think that they should not have a say in whether we terminated our city manager. I'm also concerned about the real reason 3 of you voted to terminate Mr. Olson. I don't understand your reasoning and question your real motives. Since 2003, Mr. Olson has brought in $62 million in grant money, which helped, among other things, build the aviation park and completely overhauled the utility infrastructure of this town, along with the bridge projects. Now, we all know that those projects brought jobs into this community. I don't think any of you can disagree with that. Much needed jobs. I also want to point out that there is clear evidence that Mr. Olson has increased the diversity of the employees in the city workers, and increased the diversity of the management, his team management. I respect your right to represent. Believe me, I respect your right to represent your constituents and the concerns that you have with Mr. Olson. But the question that I ask you is, what did you bring to Mr. Olson? What suggestions have you made to him? I know that there's personnel employees, recommendations or policies that you have to follow. What have you brought up here in city council meetings to make suggestions about how to improve all of this? What actions have you taken to do that? Now, the last remark I want to make addresses specifically to you, Mr. King. I want you to know, Mr. King, that I am a die-hard Democrat. Most people would call me a yellow dog Democrat. I'd vote for a Democrat before I'd vote for a Republican. I'd vote for a yellow dog before I'd vote for a Republican. I, along with my husband and many other citizens that I know, applauded your Voter Right initiative. I was proud of you. We were excited that a young man of your purposefulness and energy would want to serve our community, and we were looking forward to it. So you have been elected to a high office where there were high expectations of you. And at this point, Mr. King, I'm sorry to say that I do not think you have lived up to those expectations. I listened with interest tonight in your concern about the welfare of our young people, and I applaud you for that. But in your very short-term tenure of time, you decided, with not a lot of background knowledge, to lead the efforts to fire Mr. Olson in 3 months. The other thing I want to point out to you is that you are a student at Elizabeth City State University, and that is part of your constituency. It is very ironic that 2 weeks before you voted to fire Mr. Olson, he was recognized by Elizabeth City State University and given an award called the Chancellor's Legacy Award for Government. You know, I wouldn't think the leaders of your university would support your actions. As evidenced by the people in this building and the newspaper articles, I think the citizens of this town don't like this constant adversity, don't like the strife that's in this group, don't like the turmoil that goes on at every single meeting. It is hurting our town. There's no doubt about that. Please work cooperatively and respectfully with each other for the good of our town. Thank you.
Tom Nash.
Nash, just give your name and address.
My name is Tom Nash. I live at 117 Lexington Loop Road in Elizabeth City. I am very fortunate to have grown up here, and ironically I grew up right where we all are meeting tonight, in a house that has since been torn down for Albemarle Savings and Loan, and of course that became what is now City Hall. I have been privileged to practice law here for at least 34 years. We have wonderful assets here. We have the river, we have the university, we have COA, we have the Coast Guard base. We're truly blessed with all that we have. And I so appreciate being here and living here and growing up here. But lately, frankly, I am saddened and maybe even embarrassed at the discord, the sniping, the name calling that comes from this council. I appreciate what each one of you does and the time that you spend. But I'm not sure that you appreciate the damage that you are doing to the reputation of this city with this constant discord. I happen to think you have an excellent mayor and an excellent city manager. And this comes from many years of practicing law where you could call city, the city, and nobody would return your call. You couldn't get anybody to tell you what they were doing, what their position was. And while I don't always agree with their positions, I truly appreciate what they do, and I believe that their heart is in the right place for this city. I urge each of you to check your personal agendas, to check your personal vendettas and maybe even egos when you walk in this door. It is so important for us to move forward for the betterment of this city. And it's going to take all of you working together to do that. Thanks.
state your name and address for the record.
Diana Gardner, and I live at 10 Bateman Drive in Elizabeth City. I thank you for this opportunity. I am the current chair of the Elizabeth City Chamber of Commerce. I work as a realtor, and I've made Elizabeth City my home since 1978. Now, I'm a New Jerseyan, which you probably can recognize from the accent, but one thing I've always been thrilled about with this town is it welcomed us. It wanted us. We volunteered as a family. We've served in many different positions on different chairs, and I have felt that this is one community that works together, and we do things and we get things done. Whether they're small things or big things, we do it. And we do it regardless of our race, where we come from, who we are. We work together. And I thank you all for serving. Mayor Peel, you're at the age where you could go fishing right now, but you're here. The rest of you, I'm sure, are giving up time from a hot dinner meal tonight and your family, perhaps a church activity or a civic activity. In the past, I have been proud to invite friends, family, and clients to Elizabeth City, show them, introduce them actually to all of you. It's been an honor, and the people are always impressed. They talk about us when we leave. They say, boy, we thought you were in a little hick town. You came down here, but this is great. Recently, though, for the first time, I didn't want people to see, when they were staying in the hotel, the city council meetings. I didn't want them to read the Daily Advance. This really hurts me. We come from a journalism background. My husband was a newspaper reporter for many years. And I'm not here tonight to say, keep Rich Olson, get rid of Rich Olson. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is a little bit of what the other people have said too. I just want you to work together to show the respect and to remember what your mamas and papas said. Watch your language. Watch how you act towards others. Think about it. They say, actions speak louder than words. Well, words are recorded and they're played again and again and again. So they're almost equal now. One more minute. Yeah, I have to talk my New Jersey's thing here. We ask our children to settle differences by listening and respecting one another. And I'm asking you what others have asked. Meet the expectations of the public by changing the way you interact. It's important to have the diversity. I don't care that you have different opinions. That's what leads to a good, informed, educated decision. And I want to hear both sides of something. But unfortunately, your discussions have led me to not even want to hear them. And that's the saddest thing. When I close my newspaper and turn off my television, I'm becoming a very poor citizen. And I blame that on you.
State your name and your address, please.
My name is Holly Herbert, 609 West Main Street, Elizabeth City. Mr. Mayor, members of council, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to address you. One of the wonderful, wonderful things about a democracy is our ownership of it. Each of us has a stewardship obligation to participate, and you provide us this opportunity through this venue, and I want to thank each of you for that. I also want to thank each of you for assuming stewardship in your community by putting yourself out there and agreeing to serve in public service. It's a cliche, it's a thankless task, but it really is. And it's difficult to make the very tough choices that you have to make routinely to do the background, the research, to decide what's in the best interest for the community as a whole. We give you that opportunity, and included with that, we give you our trust to do that. A gentleman that I truly, truly admire provided me this quote. If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. But none of us are angels, so we all have a role to play. I moved here 14 years ago, and one of the most attractive things about this community was the diversity of the community. The diversity of it. I chose to live in a neighborhood that reflected exactly that because it reflected that. It's how I wanted to live my life. When I open the doors to my home, I hope that everyone who is a member of this community and beyond feels welcome. It's extremely important to me. I think about the struggles that some of us have had in life based on things not within our control. Whether we grew up disadvantaged, what gender we were, what race we were. And the one thing I remember about all those struggles is that those of us struggling always hoped we would be treated fairly and be given an equal chance. Thank you. We cannot do that as long as there are those among us who insist on finding the things that separate us and distinguish us. I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican. I don't care if you're black or white, female or male. What I care about most is that this richly diverse community walk the walk about equal opportunity. And the only way that happens if we stop allowing people to lead who insist that they point out what distinguishes us, those characteristics we cannot control. Nobody cares. We are a community that loves and worships and wants to succeed together. Please represent that about us. We ask you to do that.
We're going to have to go to the public hearings. Okay, those of you that have not yet had a chance to speak, will do so in a few minutes. We have to move to number 9 on our agenda, the public hearing. Ms. Gibbs, if you would state your name and address, please. Thank you.
My name is Dorothy Gibbs. I'm a citizen of Lisbon City, Nigeria. I live at 1203 Harrington Road. Come August, I will have lived there like 39 years. Okay? I graduated from the public school system here, graduated from Lisbon City State. Even though I've never taught a day over here, I spent all my time in Pacoima County. But I support the school system over here 100%. I have a daughter, and most of you know, June Gibbs, who works here. I do whatever I can to support. I love this. But sometimes I am a little perturbed myself with some of the things that I read or I see on television about the needy. Now, recently I talked with this young man and, of course, Mr. Brooks. I was really impressed. I'm proud of you. I support you 100%. As you know, first impressions are lasting impressions. First time I met Mr. Brooks, I had a serious problem at my house. I mean a serious problem. It was the first day I met him. I called. I talked with Mr. Olson. I had never met him before either. I was told to clean it up myself. I had a problem in my house. They hired, the city hired an independent contractor to come out, take care of it. They refused to do it. I was laying in my bed, and what happened is my grandson called me to come in my bathroom. It looked like I had painted my bathroom, where the pipes burst under my house, and all of that come up out of my stoop, blew all over my wall. I planned not to go into detail, but I think I need to tell this. It was all over my bathroom, everywhere. I called and I talked with Mr. Olson. Mr. Olson told me, clean it up yourself. He said, I have this to happen 2 or 3 times a year at my house, and I clean it up. But I informed him I did not intend to touch it. It was so bad, I left out of my house. As I got to the corner, I saw Mr. Brooks. I had never met him before. And I thought, this is a city councilman. I stopped him, mentioned it to him. Right away, he called Mr. Walton, who was my councilman. The 2 of them got on it. They assured me it would be taken care of that day. Okay? It was so bad, I could not stay in my house. The city sent us to stay at Hampton Inn for the night. But we know first impression is a last impression. So I'm giving you naturally my impression of Mr. Brooks and Mr. Olson. Again, I'll support any of you as long as I think that what you're doing is the right thing because I love Elizabeth City. Thank you.
Pete Gilbert. And Mr. Gilbert
State your name and address, please.
My name's Pete Gilbert, I live at 1623 Penny Drive. Mr. King is your, I guess the closest thing to a campaign manager that you had, me being most responsible for you being elected. I come to talk to you tonight. I see where you have taken a position against about several things that I'm concerned about. Our mayor is a former educator, spent his whole life in education. So when he wanted to have an initiative to give our children more opportunities for education, some of them probably are poor and need a hand up, you were opposed to that. It really concerns me. Not everybody has the opportunities that you did to have an education paid for. I understand that you tell people that you worked your way through school and you paid for it, but we both know differently. I will tell you, the other thing that concerns me is you've been here 30 minutes and you're ready to get rid of the city manager. Well, I'm not the president of Mr. Olson's fan club, but I will tell you this. He's had a lot of good things he's done for the city. He's got a plan. So you have to seek first to understand. Don't take a perception from somebody else, because I think we all have that problem. Mr. Brooks, there's been a lot of times when Councilman Brooks, he was in the neighborhood fighting drug dealers off. There was a rumor he had a contract out on him at one time. I agreed with everything he did. He was doing the right thing for his community. You have to stop and think, are you doing the right thing for everybody in the 4th Ward? A lot of people's perception of you is this, and you too, Mr. Horton. A lot of people's perception is you're being driven by a special interest group. So if you want to get rid of Mr. Olson, is Keith, did he tell you that Reggie's ready to go? Because we all really know what's going on. This is nothing but another underhanded attempt to milk the city with the friends and family plan. All this conversation over the Hugh Cale building, most of y'all have already been around this conversation one time where they tried to get the city to give it away to a special interest group. There's been a lot that's went on, Mr. King, you don't understand. Part of it's my fault because you did reach out to me and try to go to sit and meet with me. And I would like to sit and meet with you because there's been a lot of black community development corporations in this town that have had plenty of opportunities to help the community. One of them being OIC. They had several $1 million in public funds given to them, and they provided no audit. So we can't really tell where any of that went. But if you go ask them, what did you do to help? Can you point something out for us? Nobody can point anything out. And let's talk about the Elizabeth City Neighborhood Corporation while we're at it. They were given property by the city on Perry Drive, and they took a loan out for the property and then defaulted on the loan, but we can't figure out where the money went. See, there's been plenty of opportunities for people to do good in this community, but they've squandered them. So when you jump in bed with somebody, make sure who you're in bed with, because I will tell you, it's kind of miserable when you get in bed and you find out you roll over and that person you're in bed with is ugly. Because I'm telling you, you need to sit down with folks in the community and understand the whole story. Because you're being driven and you're making some poor decisions based on poor advice. So I told you that day in Raleigh that it was not personal between me and you, that I wished you all the luck. And when people in the community were upset when you got elected, you know what I told them? Give them both a chance. I will tell you, I love Miss Reverend Lena. I love her, and I think she did as good as she could for this city. And I think she got a bad deal. But the first thing I said when I told them to give you a chance, because you were sure better than that other guy that was sitting up here. Because you're open-minded, you're young, you think in ways that us older folks don't anymore. So I'd like to sit down with you and explain some of the things I'm telling you, because I don't tell you nothing that I don't have records to back up. So I would be glad to show you anything that you'd like to see. And one last thing, Mr. Spence, it's hard to be a man of principle, but I would like to thank you for standing on your own principles, because I know you could. One last thing, to show you how much people pay attention, I believe you violated the open meetings law when you were passing around your little note last meeting. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like that investigated. We can show you where it is on the tape if you'd like to see it, but it's against the law to do that. And if they have a violation of the open meetings law, I'd like to know how council's going to direct it, how they're going to fix it. Thank you.
Oh, my gosh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bill Hemer, 107 Osprey Cove. Can you hear me okay? Adams Landing. It's a great place to live. I'll be brief. I have 3 brief comments that I've written down. Number 1 and most important, thank you, Councilman Spence, for your vote on 24 March against the termination of City Manager Olson. You showed yourself to be both a fair and courageous man. You have the gratitude and respect of many in our city. You, Ms. Baker, Mr. Donnelly, and Mr. Steinmetz displayed leadership and responsibility. Number 2, the motion that was made 3 weeks ago in this chamber to fire Rich Olson, with Councilwoman Hummer absent, was shameful, self-serving, and irresponsible. Had it been successful under those conditions, the fallout and backlash in our city could have been very disturbing. And finally, therefore I'm asking that all members of council take a very simple pledge. Considering the magnitude of the decision to fire or hire a city manager, please pledge that no vote will be taken on this matter unless council attendance is 100%. That shows respect for all your colleagues on council, all our citizens, and our system of government. Thank you very much, and please do good work.
Johnny Walton. Mr. Walton has
6 minutes. Well, when you state your name and address, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Johnny Walton, 401 New York Avenue. And I see we have a lot of people here from the press. It's not usually that way. And it's nice seeing a lot of you all. I haven't seen you since the election, so it's nice to see a lot of you. If we are community-minded, we must help the less fortunate. Alan McPherson, thank you. I'm a native of Elizabeth City also. Alvin kept me on the road, y'all. He sold me a lot of tires. Thank you again. You're your brother, man. I love you guys. See, people that come from out of town, you can't relate the same way. And I'm not putting you down. But if you were living where you lived before, you probably wouldn't be doing the same thing you're doing now. Because the place that you live in would not allow that to happen. Trust me. And Pete Gilbert. I remember back in 05, one of them, when your wife was running for the 4th Ward. Where's Pete go? When I came to the poll, he would say, "Hey, Uncle Johnny, Uncle Johnny." I mean, no kidding to me. We don't have ugly people in our family. He gave the ugly joke. We don't have ugly people in our family. But that was Pete Gilbert. But now he come in here and try to harass Mr. King.
Yeah,
and y'all clap about it.
yeah. That's right. Some
Now,
of
you
it.
want people to be civil, but you clap.
That's right.
But if I say something all uncivil, you don't clap. You see, he's crazy.
That's right. That's true. I'm gonna clap with it, right?
You work for the newspaper and you talk about Mr. King in the paper, then you come up here talking about civility.
Right.
Don't be divided. Don't be divided. You wrote the article.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, Miss Kirby, you wrote the article.
Right.
You work for the daily newspaper. And then you come up here and slam this man because he make a decision to be a man.
That's true. That's what it is.
A lot of women can't raise men. He has become a man. And he make his own decisions.
That's true.
I apologize to anybody I have offended.
You ain't saying nobody. Go ahead.
But I'm going to say what I have to say.
Amen. All right. I like that. That's good.
I think if you don't stand up and say it, you're wrong.
Right.
And you put a whole lot of people in the paper saying black leaders. No, trust me, they're not the black leaders in the city.
Hey.
They are the people that follow. They're the people that follow certain people.
Right.
Yeah, Jesus Jr., that's who they follow. He did the right thing. He got up and said, our Father. Yeah, our Father, all our fathers. It's not just your father or my father. God is all of our Father.
Amen. That's
And He just wants all us to be treated the same. And the ones that can't help themselves, He wants us to help them. We have a lady come up here talking about Jesus Jr. and say, I live in Camden. Well, why are you up there? Camden don't have the same problems we have. We got the problems. When you got two visions, it's division.
That's true.
But you think you're right.
That's right.
Let me tell you about looking back. I looked back and the last council that put all these infrastructure things together, it wasn't this council or the last council. All these things you're seeing happening, it was the previous council. But let me tell you, that's what you call looking back. And then let me give you some nearsightedness. Some of the things that are happening. And you tell me if it's building the middle class. Poindexter parking lot, $140,000. The bathrooms on Waterfront, is that building the middle class? Business incentive, free property taxes, is that building the middle class? Downtown incentive, $80,000. You giving money to people who already got money. How can you move the economy that way?
That's true.
How can you move the economy? You can't. Free Wi-Fi. Downtown. In between Aaron House and water and road. That's the only thing that matters. Now let me get to the real serious part of it. Charter schools. When the first chance you get a chance to get $1.5 million, what you do? You try to build a charter school. And people right here act like it didn't even happen. Let me tell you about charter schools in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah, it'll take me about a minute. In Charlotte, North Carolina, they granted put 300 kids out there to find a school somewhere because that charter school that was given $2.4 million, they did not spend their money correctly. That was student first charter school. Then there was a Kennedy charter school. Got the pill mentality. This guy get paid $187,000 a year. His wife get $120,000 a year. And they took and paid $175,000 mortgage for that person. And they also paid a membership card for him. Go to your computers and look it up. That's what charter schools will do for you. And he still has that in his Vision 2020. Because during that retreat, he put it in there. He told y'all about it earlier. During the budget process. It's in there. And he also said, I'm going to talk to the school board to see can't we get a joint. I'm sorry. Man. We can do better than this and stop this following everybody, y'all. Give everybody a chance. Everybody a chance. Thank you.
Jones.
State your name, address, please.
My name is June Gibbs. I live at 1918 Providence. I applaud you, Mr. Walton. I came in tonight and I hadn't planned to do anything other than just sit and listen. But when I walked in and I saw this packed house with people that I spend my money with, people that I tried to work with, and that type thing, who are out here to blast this young 23-year-old man. But when our city manager and our mayor caused us to lose $1.5 million that could help educate our children, nobody came. But everybody loves our children. You talk about, and I'm talking about things that I've heard, because I didn't come prepared to talk. We're talking about things that this charter school would help the poor. That's bull. The charter school, how can it help the poor students when it doesn't provide free lunch, free transportation? Parents have to come in. You know, poor people have to work and possibly pay a stipend. That's not about poor. That was taking our poor folk tax dollars helping to pay for your private school. And that's not right. Also, talking about us being fair and us being treated. When Miss O'Neill got up here and first started talking, her first statement was, I come up here because 4 people went against Mr. Olson. That's lumping us all together. It was only 3 of them. Mr. Spence did not vote for it. But see, we lump her. Later, she went back and she corrected it. But see, it's so easy to lump all of us together. I don't follow anyone. I don't try to lead anyone. Montravius King has his own man. I applaud him. This young man, in 3 months' time, came in and was smart enough and quicker enough, and also Mr. Horton, to see that something wasn't right with the city manager.
That's right.
The city manager knows it's not right. Every chance he gets, he's trying to apply to get out of here.
That's true.
$1.5 million. Keep that in your mind.
All right.
We lost that. And another thing, every time Mr. Brooks, every time Mr. Horton, Mr. Spence, or Mr. King open their mouth and try to say anything, they are rude when they don't agree with everything people say.
That's right.
Well, if that's the case, I'm rude. I don't listen to black, white, or other if I think they're wrong.
That's right.
I love children. I work with children. But you know, tonight, I got a rude awakening here. Because when we should have been here fighting about the money that we didn't have, the money that our mayor went to get and as an individual for his Peel school, but signed it, Joseph Peel, mayor.
Tell it. That's
Yeah,
right. That's all right.
That's right. Look up on the internet, like Mr. Walton told you. It's out there. It's not right, people. You know, and anybody that says there aren't racial differences, something's wrong with it.
Amen.
I would love it if it were not that way. But guess what? It is. I have a brain. My black brothers and sisters have brains, and ours work just like anybody else.
All right.
Together, we can all do great things. But separate, we're not going to get anything done, but bickering back and forth, and all of the bickering is not just those 4, it's those 4 deciding to get up and speak out.
Yeah. That's right.
So I guess now,
That's true.
I'm bickering. No, I'm telling you the way it is.
That's
You know,
right.
like truth hurts.
That's
Truth
right.
hurts.
That's right.
I have 3 children that came through the school system here. I have family. I'm from here, moved away in the military. But you know what? I have come back here and seen so much injustice in the past 4 or 5 years. It wasn't always this way. It wasn't always this way. Thank you.
The last speaker is Maria Mullen.
Sponsor, you state your name and address, please.
My name is Maria Mullen, formerly Maria Gibbs. I live at 103 Outer Acres in Elizabeth City. I'm here about the light bill. In 1999, 2000, y'all put new streets, new pipes, new sewer pipes, water pipes on Walker's Avenue. I lived a house on Jefferson Street, one house from Walker's Avenue. I got a $1,500 water bill. I went to Rick Olson. He told me I had to pay for the water bill. The water bill was for under the house. I'm not supposed to pay for under the house, I'm supposed to pay in the house. Do you know Section 8 kicked me off the program? I was homeless in Elizabeth City for 7 years. I walked these streets, folks thought I was tricking, and want that. I had nowhere to go. I'm gonna lower my voice right now because I'm trying to be civil, okay? Now, I picked myself up, I left Elizabeth City, I went back to New York, I worked off the books. I'm disabled now. I had to sleep in the library when I had a liver surgery because I had no place to go. Now, I came back, like I said, picked myself up. I'm in school as a criminal justice major. I got me a house. I'm doing good now. But my problem is, why is it, I live right outside Bird Sanctuary. Why is it my light bill this month is $299 and I have used gas heat? I have a gas fireplace. I don't have Elizabeth City water, I have county water. The problem is around here is that where is the money going for the light bill? That's what I want to know. Where is it going? You have a choice to pay the light bill or get your medicine. The old people have a choice to get a light bill or eat. It don't make no sense. The young mothers, there ain't no one's doing nothing about this light bill. I want to know where the money is going with the light. Rick Olson, I want you to look at me because you treated me like a dog. When I came back here in Elizabeth City, and you told me, I came back, so I'm going to pay the $300 pay on the light bill. You told me not to pay the light bill because you had adjusted. The first words that came out your mouth was, you owe me for 7 years. I turned around and said, you owe me for 7 years of my life on the streets. Nobody paid me back. I came here in 2005 in front of the city council. Did not nobody said a word. I said before I left here, while you in your bed sleeping, I'm on the streets walking all night long. Let me tell you who I am. I am the voice of the city streets. Remember that. I'm going to start to state my views about stuff that goes on in Elizabeth City. I think you need to go, Mr. Rick Olson, because you don't have no right to treat people that is less fortunate than you the way that you treated people. And I am a true witness of how you treated me. I am, again, the voice of the city streets, and thank you for listening to what I had to say.